Hi guys, welcome to our class today. So, before we start our discussion, let's have our opening prayer first. So, for those who are Catholic, please make the sign of cross. In the name of Almighty God, thank you for this wonderful day that you've given to us. Bless us and guide us in our discussion, that we can get something and uh, lead us and bless us always. In the name of Almighty God, Amen. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to have our class. Before we start our class, I have here some virtual classroom rules. Rule number one is you should be on time, and then two is keep yourself muted, and third is raise your hand if you want to talk, and four is be attentive. So now, before we proceed to our discussion, I have prepared here a game. This game is called Stop, Look, and Guess. So here in the picture is what do you think it is? Okay, that's right. So it's Philippines. So how about the second picture? Okay, it is pre-colonial. And then the third one, okay, very good. It is literature. So what do you think is our topic for today's discussion? Okay, that's right. So our topic for today's discussion is about Philippine pre-colonial literature. So before we proceed to our discussion, let's read our learning objective first. Our first objective of the day is create literary piece based on the different types of literature during pre-colonial period in the Philippines. And number two was define different types of literature during pre-colonial period in the Philippines. The third is construct a compare and contrast essay about pre-colonial Philippine literature. Philippine literary forms in the pre-colonial era were spoken, sung, or chanted with the intent of entertaining, promoting community values, accompanying rituals, or imparting wisdom. This comes in the form of riddles, proverbs, and folklore. Philippine literary forms in the pre-colonial era were spoken. So it means that our oral, sung through songs, chanted through chants, with the intent of entertaining. So it means that the Philippine literary forms before were passed down through spoken, through oral, through songs and chanted, and the intention of the Philippine literary forms before were just for entertainment and promoting community values and accompanying rituals or imparting wisdom. Let's proceed for the first one. We have here the riddles. Riddles, it began before the Spanish came on the Philippine shores. Riddles began before we were colonized by the Spanish, or before Magellan uh, discovered the Philippines. So it was used as a form of entertainment. So riddles was used as a form of entertainment for the Filipino, and they would even gather in the dead of night and share their own bugtongs. So riddles in our own dialect is bugtong, and take turns answering. So the bugtong was born as tools that the old and wise, as a poetic and indirect form to tell the youth. So, bugtongs or riddles is like logics. Example is isang prinsesa punong-puno ng mata. So, uh, uh, the answer was pinya. And then, dalawang batong maitim. Malayo ang dinarating. So, the answer was mata. So, uh, here is we can understand that bugtong is like an logic. So bugtong is just for an entertainment where Filipino people gather in the dead of night and share their own bugtongs and take turns answering. So they use bugtongs just for entertainment. So I think we are all familiar with riddles or bugtongs because it is also famous in our locality. So I think in our locality it is called I think it's just same bugtong. So now let's proceed for let's proceed proverbs. So proverbs are called salawikain or sawikain in Tagalog or sarisita in Ilocano. So like most proverbs the world over, Philippine proverbs contain saying which prescribe norms, impart a lesson, or simply reflect standard norms. So traditions and beliefs in the community. So Professor Damiana Eugenio classifies Philippine proverbs into six groups according to the subject matter. So proverbs are called salawikain. Proverbs or sayings. So like most proverbs, so Philippine proverbs contain sayings. So proverbs or sayings prescribe norms and part lessons or simply reflect standard norms. So proverbs, in other words, is saying. So here are the six no proverbs expressing general attitude toward life and the laws that govern life. And two is ethical proverbs recommending certain virtues and condemning certain vices. So ethical proverbs recommending certain virtues, so recommending certain good things and also condemning bad things. So the one is proverb expressing a general attitude towards life and the laws that governs life. So it means a saying about life. Third is a proverb expressing a system of values. So proverbs expressing a system of values also. Four proverbs expressing a general truth and observation about life and human nature. So it means a saying about truths and observation of life and human nature. So five is humorous proverbs. So humorous proverbs used also for entertainment, and miscellaneous proverbs is the last. So we have here an for example uh, of proverbs. So matibay ang walis, palibhasay, magkabigkis. So it means that the uh, matibay ang walis, palibhasay, magkabigkis. Mahirap ang gisingin ang nagtulog-tulugan. So, I think this mahirap gisingin ang nagtulog-tulugan is an example of humorous proverbs. It means that it is hard to wake up someone who is just pretending to be asleep. And then, bagong hari, bagong ugali. So, new king, new attitude. And then, now let's proceed to the folklore. So, folklore. Dr. Damian Eugenio, a renowned Filipina folklorist, says there is still no universally accepted definition of the word folklore. So, but any bit of knowledge handed down from generation to generation. So it means that according to the Dr. Damian Eugenio, so renowned folklorist, she says that there's still no universally accepted definition for the word folklore. So, but it just means that any bit of knowledge handed down from generation to generation. So it means that passed down from generation to generation, which describe or depict the belief and lifestyle of the ancestor of a chosen ethnic group. So, which describe or depicts the belief and lifestyle of the ancestor of the chosen ethnic group. So, it's just like I think oral passed down from generations to generations to preserve the history or the lifestyle of our ancestors or chosen ethnic group. So, is rendered unique to that group and respected as follows. And then folklore is usually transmitted by word of mouth. So it means that folklore is usually transmitted through oral. So oral traditions are very common among the indigenous tribes still existent in the Philippines. So like Igorots, those were our indigenous tribes. So I think it's because the oral traditions were very common because most of the indigenous people don't know how to write, so that's why they just pass it down through oral. And then here are the six uh, in the Philippines folklores of the Philippines. So Uh, the one is myths and legend. Two is fables, tables of the supernatural, heroic table, and tales of laughter. So myths and legend. So myths are tales involving the gods of old. They may deal with a conflict among the gods themselves, or ways in which the god would reveal themselves as unique character unto the lowly creature of earth, including, of course, man. So myths and legends. So we know we Filipinos before we indigenous people in the Filipino or in the pre-colonial before the Catholic or the Christians were introduced to us. We Filipino worship gods of earth, gods of God's Son. Uh, we worship different kind of gods. So these are the myths or tales involving gods of old. And then fables. So fables is generally fables are short narratives that revolve around particular moral lessons. So fables, animals are the heroes in the most fables. They are made to stand for certain traits of the human race and to teach the ways of the world through vivid characterization and lively interaction. So, uh, I think example of fables is the hare, uh, the hare and uh, the hare and the tortoise. So, which teach us a lesson, a moral lesson that it's not about how fast you are; it's about how consistent you are. So that is one example of the fables. And then tables of supernatural. So the supernatural involves the fair fox, dwarves, mermaids, demons, strange beasts, and other phenomena. So tales of divine intervention are included here, as they are also classified as unexplainable. So it means that tales of supernatural involves fair fox, dwarves. So we Filipinos, we know that we have so many supernatural creatures like Tikbalang, Serena, or mermaid, uh, and other more. No, so This is those are part of the supernatural. So their story is a part of the supernatural since they can't be explained. And then heroic tales. So heroic tales, heroes' adventure, and the gather of fruits of their labor and faith. So these tales have inspired the Filipinos to aspire for the greatest since the dawn of time. So we also have our own heroic tales, right? So we also have our heroes. I think like Darna, Captain Barbell. So those are one of the heroes, no? And we also have heroic tales or heroes adventure. Uh, yeah, that's right. And now let's proceed for the tales of laughter. So tales of laughter insist on having a separate category. So moral lessons are sometimes scattered about. Though most of the time stories in this area had been created and are handed down for sole purpose of having fun. So tales of laughter is just the sole purpose of it is just for having fun. So yeah, do you have any question regarding our discussion? Okay, if none now I have here a question. So, what are the different type of pre-colonial literature in the Philippines? Okay, okay, very good. They are the bugtong or riddle, salawikain or proverbs, and folklore. So, and then there are six category folklores in our in the Philippines, which namely are myths and legends, fables, uh, tales of the supernatural, heroic tales, and tales of laughter. So, example of bugtong is okay. That's right. So, uh, a princess with many eyes. Answer is Pinya, and then a proverbs is new king, uh, new life, right? Okay, and then for the folklore, okay, that's right. So, uh, fairy tales like a story about demons, Serena, Tikbalang, the hare and the tortoise, Ibon Adarna, like that. Okay, now we will have a group activity. So group yourselves into four and create your own piece. So based on the Philippine pre-colonial literature, select two only. So you're just going to select two from the three. Either you are going to make folklore, uh, either you are going to make salawikain or proverbs, or bugtong. So you're just going to select two out of three. And then our rubrics for this is originality, should be 20 points, presentation 15 points, and teamwork is 15 points with a total of 50 points. So after you've created your bugtong, proverbs, or folklore, I want one representative to represent their output. Okay, now since you are done, now let's proceed to our evaluation or quiz. So, here is our quiz. I will give you only 5 minutes since there are only 6 items. So you can take your time now to answer. So the number one question, it is called Salawikain or Sawikain in Tagalog or Sarsasita in Ilocano. So it was used as a form of entertainment for the Filipino. So what is the answer? Okay, so how about number two? It is usually transmitted by word of mouth. Okay, so a tales involving the gods of old. Okay, very good. Myths, a short narrative that revolves around particular moral lesson. Okay, fables. It involves the fair folk, dwarves, mermaids, demons, strange beasts, and other phenomena. It insists on having a separate category. Okay, it is tales of the supernatural or supernatural. Answer is considered. So it is usually involves spirit gods or just an omnipotent. Okay, very good. So it's myths in uh, legends. So now let's proceed to our another evaluation or our quiz. I want you to create an essay. Select two Philippine pre-colonial literature and construct a compare and contrast essay. So uh, uh, in here, I want you to select and two like bugtong and proverbs. You're going to compare and contrast them. What's their difference and what's their similarities? So is that understood? Okay, very good. So since uh, we are done now, so we have here our assignment. So advanced research for Philippine modern literature. So I want you to advance research. So what are the modern literatures in the Philippines now? So and then also before we end our class, so do you have any uh, questions or clarifications? Okay, if none, so this is all. That's all for today. And goodbye. And thank you for the participation. And thank you for attending our class meeting for today. See you next time.